Some love stories burn brightly and then disappear, but once in a while, a love story appears that quietly survives fame, temptation, and time. A love story so rare that even Hollywood couldn't destroy it. This is the story of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. Two stars, one marriage, and a love that lasted 50 years in a place where most marriages barely survive 5. The year was 1953. New York's Broadway scene was buzzing with young actors chasing impossible dreams. Among them was a tall, striking young man with unforgettable blue eyes. Paul Newman. But at that time, Newman was not yet a star. In fact, he was only an understudy in the Broadway production of Picnic. And that was where he first met a young actress named Joanne Woodward. Joanne was talented, serious about her craft, and not easily impressed. In fact, when she first saw Paul Newman, she later joked that he looked like a pretty boy actor. But once they started talking, something unexpected happened. They connected. They talked about acting, about ambition, about the strange loneliness of trying to succeed in show business. But there was a problem. Paul Newman was already married to Jacqueline Witter, so whatever spark existed between them had to remain unspoken for years. As their careers slowly grew, their paths kept crossing. Then fate stepped in again. In the late 1950s, Paul and Joanne were cast together in the film The Long Hot Summer. And suddenly they were spending every day together, rehearsing scenes, talking between takes, sharing long conversations about life and acting. Joanne began to see a side of Paul the world didn't know. Behind the handsome face was a man who was thoughtful, sensitive, and deeply serious about his work. And Paul admired Joanne for something rare in Hollywood. She didn't care about glamour. She cared about the craft. Their friendship slowly deepened. But Newman refused to rush into something reckless. Only after years of personal struggle did he finally divorce his first wife. And in January 1958, Paul Newman married Joanne Woodward. Hollywood insiders whispered the same prediction. It won't last. After all, Hollywood romances rarely do. But what happened next surprised everyone. Instead of embracing the wild Hollywood lifestyle, Paul and Joanne did something unexpected. They left it. Rather than living permanently in Los Angeles, they chose to raise their family in the quiet coastal town of Westport. It was a simple place, far away from flashing cameras and constant parties. There, they built something rare for movie stars, a normal life. They raised 3 daughters together. They worked on films. They supported each other's careers. And slowly, something remarkable happened. Years passed, then decades. Hollywood marriages collapsed one after another. But Paul and Joanne remained together, and people began asking a question that no one could quite answer. How? How did one of the most famous men in the world stay loyal for so long? Paul Newman once answered that question with a line that became legendary. When asked about temptation and infidelity, he smiled and said, "Why go out for hamburger when you have steak at home?" The world laughed, but behind the humor was something genuine. Newman adored his wife. A partnership, not just a marriage. Joanne Woodward was never simply Paul Newman's wife. She was a brilliant actress in her own right. In fact, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress for The Three Faces of Eve. Sometimes Paul stepped back so Joanne could shine. Other times, she supported him when his films struggled. They directed each other, critiqued each other, protected each other from the pressures of fame. Their marriage wasn't built only on romance. It was built on respect and partnership. As the years passed, Paul Newman gradually stepped away from acting. Instead, he focused on philanthropy through Newman's Own. The company donated hundreds of millions of dollars to charity. And through everything, Joanne remained by his side. Then in 2008, Paul Newman's health began to decline. After nearly 50 years of marriage, their time together was coming to an end. Paul Newman passed away on September 26, 2008. The world lost a legendary actor, but Joanne Woodward lost something far more personal. The man she had loved for half a century. A love story that still feels impossible. Hollywood has created thousands of love stories. Most ended in heartbreak. Fame destroyed them. Ego destroyed them. Temptation destroyed them. But Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward remained together for 50 years. Not because their life was perfect, but because they kept choosing each other. Again, and again, and again. And maybe that is the real secret behind their marriage. Not perfection. Just two people who never stopped deciding that the other one was worth staying for. And perhaps that is why, decades later, their love still feels almost impossible. Or maybe it's simply proof that sometimes, even in Hollywood, real love can last forever.